Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of Elder Scrolls Lore. Now before we begin today, I'd like to make a shout out to the Discord chat. Feel free to check it out with the link in the description below or in the channel header, as well as make a shout out to Aries' channel. The link is in the description below. Feel free to check that out. He allows me to use his music in my videos, and it's just wonderful music. I highly recommend you check it out. He has a wide variety of songs you can look at too. It's not just Elder Scrolls themed. And today is kind of interesting. It's a sort of similar to some videos I did in the past. Whether or not the Empire could recapture Valenwood or recapture Morrowind. This is going to be more about, can Blackmarsh keep its holdings in Morrowind, or is Morrowind going to break free and be able to reclaim their lost lands? And this video is going to be analyzing what's going on. So with that being said, can Morrowind regain its lost lands? Entering the 4th era, the province of Morrowind is struggling tremendously. In the year 5 of the 4th era, the Red Mountain exploded and erupted all over and destroyed all of these settlements on Vvardenfell. And then later on, the siege, they came under siege from the people of Blackmarsh, the Argonians, and this is due to the centuries upon slavery that the Dunmer have done to the Argonians. And a lot of the houses themselves are struggling. House Halalu had lost their status as a great house due to their close connection to the Empire, and the Empire was virtually unwilling to do anything to aid Morrowind, and they kind of let them go. So they were used as a scapegoat for a lot of Morrowind's suffering, House Halalu that is. And then House Talvani had suffered tremendously during the Oblivion Crisis, and a majority of their people had been killed, with only one Talvani familial member surviving, and that was Bran Shay that you see in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, who was raised by an Argonian family. But there is a colony that was founded by Master Neloth, who was in fact a Talvani, and they still retain their seat on the Dunmer Council, which suggests that they have rebuilt their status pretty well. House Sadras would come in to replace House Halalu as well, but we don't know too much about them, but they are very warlike and very strong. However, it was House Redoran that became the eminent power in Morrowind, taking the position as the leaders of the Grand Council. In fact, the capital of Morrowind was then relocated to the Redoran city of Blacklight, where the Grand Council meets within the Rootspire. Now the Red Mountain and the invasion of the Argonians has brought many Dunmer together, but this doesn't necessarily mean they have a history of peace. Now, under the Tribunal times, the wars against other houses were outlawed. However, it was very common for the houses to use the Morag Tong to assassinate other March nobles, and this would go on tremendously, a tremendous amount, and basically stop wars, but in a way keep them all going on through this vendetta-like system when you have someone assassinated. So basically, what's the situation going on in Blackmarsh? Now, Blackmarsh is prospering. Now, they had the Umbriel Crisis that happened there, which saw a tremendous amount of trouble for the Argonians in Blackmarsh. However, under the new governmental power of the Annexiel, they have managed to cooperate, stave off the Oblivion Crisis, and now lead a successful invasion into Morrowind. The Argonians managed to capture some pretty prominent cities of Tyr and Narcissus, but they were halted at Mournhold, where it is assumed that there is a stalemate now within the war. Well, it's interesting to note here that we don't have too much of what happens next, whether there's a stalemate or there's going to be a pact or a treaty, and this is where this video is going to analyze what potentially might happen. Now, the forces of Morrowind were led by House Redoran, and it's them who led the defense and was able to push the Argonians out of the city and recapture it or hold it off from the Argonians. With Vivec gone and most of Vvardenfell gone, there are some cities that are being rebuilt on Vvardenfell, but for the most part, the main authority is going to be coming from the mainland. With Redoran leading the advance, I believe that, and this is a little different from some of the other videos I've done when it comes to the prediction of outcomes of wars. Whereas, again, this is prediction and analysis. This is what I believe will happen, so it's not canon or lore, or not lore, but it's not canon, it's not official. So I believe that under House Redoran and leading the other great houses, the Argonians would be pushed out of Narcissus, and the Argonians would retreat back to the city of Tyr. Now, back at Tyr, they'll have some more of their... They'll be in more familiar territory in terms of the conditions of the battlefield. It's more swampy. It's more suited to their kind of battle, their battle formations and their battle tactics. Is a better word for it. Now, I believe that using the momentum, House Redoran and Morrowind would push forward into Tyr. However, using these new conditions that the Argonians are familiar with, I think they'll stand off and hold them at Tyr. Now, House Redoran and the other Morrowind forces would most likely pull back, and they'll have one last battle somewhere in between this area, and this will be a bloody battle. Both forces will have tremendous losses and force each other into another stalemate. Now, House Redoran is a very smart and tactical and strategic house. They know and are able to recognize certain situations when they're happening. So I believe under their influence they'll be able to negotiate a treaty, and same with the Argonians. Well, the Argonians will receive some compensation for the centuries upon centuries upon centuries of slavery, and given some land from southern Morrowind to them, maybe not necessarily Tyr, but some of the land nevertheless, and this will create some sort of balance. Now, there's still going to be a outlaw of slavery, I believe, in Morrowind as well, and this is going to be one of the conditions held by the Argonians, that slavery is no longer allowed, which House Dress would suffer tremendously about. Now, House Dress is a slave society, and I'm kind of using the US Civil War as an example here. Slavery will be outlawed, however, there'll be a lot of racism and a lot of struggles and tensions within the regions. Now, despite this, I think House Redoran will greatly enforce this treaty because of the conditions they are currently in. They are predominantly focused on wanting to rebuild Vardenfell, because that will open up a tremendous amount of resources for the Argonians to have, or for not the Argonians, for the Dunmer to have. At the same time, they have now been given access to Solstheim, who, under the influence of the Dragonborn or someone else, have found a new source of ebony from that will bring in another source of profit and money. So under this, and now they're an independent country, I think they're going to focus greatly on improving relations outside of their own province and trying to build itself up and create a strong independent nation. At the same time, I believe that Black Marsh will be doing the same. Black Marsh and Morrowind are no longer a part of the Empire, and like Morrowind, but I think Black Marsh itself will strive to improve relations with its neighbors and in the same time bolster its own forces, because proving that they are superior to the Dunmer forces, the Argonians are no longer someone to be trifled with. However, with the official halt at Mournhold and the three other battles that would follow in my hypothetical scenario, I think it would prove that they're very good fighting in their own conditions and their own tactics. However, I believe they would show that the Argonians are also vulnerable, not fighting in any familiar territory. At the same time here, I think this would stop anyone from trying to invade Black Marsh, and Black Marsh has a very troubled history of attempting to being conquered, because the attempt of conquering Black Marsh is very difficult. Many empires have failed, and most had to do it through a treaty. And I think the Dunmer and Morrowind would realize that Black Marsh is no longer a stepping stone or something to be used as a tool to improve themselves. I believe that if they attempt to do another slave raid or attempt to raid Black Marsh now, I think they really have to fear retribution from the Argonians, and that they're no longer messing around at this point. So, with that, that's all we have here today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this analysis. I would like to know what you guys think. Do you agree or disagree? Do you think that both countries would remain relatively stable into it hit a stalemate here, that no land gains would really necessarily be made, or no major ones at least. Do you think that some of the land would be kept under the Argonian control, or do you think that the great houses will completely collapse, or the Annaxiel will completely collapse? A lot of things could happen at this point. I would like to know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I have a new end credit thing as well, so if you guys want to stick around towards the end of the video to see that, I'd appreciate it. Peace. Hey guys, please like if you enjoyed this. Lets me know you're really liking the content, and lets me know that you want more of it. And please subscribe if you want more content like this. I post 5 days a week and once bi-weekly with Dragon Age lore. And with that, I hope to see you guys in the Discord chat. Peace.